during the final commercial break of the debate. When the commercial was up on the screen, there was a little square box at the bottom of the MSNBC screen, and we could see you and Mike Bloomberg having what appeared to be a very pleasant, very civil conversation for the entire length of that commercial. After all those punches had been thrown during the previous hour and a half, what was that conversation about?
So I was actually going to stay at my little podium there and make a couple of notes and think about what I wanted to say at the end, because I don't write this in advance. I kind of see how the debate had unfolded. And the mayor turned to me and asked me where I was born. And so I started talking to him about that. And he isn't very familiar with Oklahoma. So I told him a little bit about Oklahoma, and we talked a little about Oklahoma. And by the way, politically, the mayor has already dropped, I think it's $6 million in Oklahoma. It's a Super Tuesday state. And it was, for me, a reminder that, this is a guy who's now dropped $400 million to buy that spot on the stage, and whose basic argument is that he should be president because he can spend another $400 million. If that's what democracy is about, then we're in real trouble. Running our arrogant billionaire against their arrogant billionaire, that's just going to be an America that's going to work even better for billionaires and not for everyone else. So, we're out there. I'm raising money. I think the right way to do this is grassroots up, not just reach in your pocket and not suck up to billionaires. I don't spend my time behind closed doors with billionaires. So every time I get a chance, I say to people, if you think that's the right way to run a campaign, please go to ElizabethWarren.com and pitch in $5 or $10 or whatever you can, because this is about our democracy, and it's about how we're going to pick a nominee who's going to represent all the Democrats when we go into battle against Donald Trump. I can win that battle, but I'm going to need help to do it.
I want to stay on that moment during the commercial break just for one more round here, because it seems to me that one of the things we're watching in that is we saw two people really go at it in that debate and unload everything you had that you thought was relevant, that voters should know. And Mike Bloomberg was trying to do the same thing. But then, when that's over, in effect, or there's a break in it during the commercial break, immediately the both of you become human beings to each other, and he's asking you where you're from, and you're telling him about Oklahoma, and he's from Medford, a place not far from where you now live in Cambridge. And here are two human beings who disagree on a lot, and disagree on a lot that's important. Is there a lesson in that about how Americans can talk to each other across the gap of disagreement?
That's a really interesting question, because for me, as many differences as were represented on that stage, ultimately, I believe that people get into the presidential candidacy because they love their country and they believe they have something to offer. We were a much bigger field, as you know, when this all started. And one of the things that really struck me as people dropped out of the race, couldn't stay in the race, I was struck by two things. The first was how many people with really good ideas, really, with unique voices, something special to bring to it, were forced out of the race, and forced out of it because of money. But what I did is I tried to pull as many of those people, or at least as many of their staffers, as many of their volunteers, as many of their good ideas as possible into my own race, recognizing, we were running against each other. But Kamala Harris has just a really, really terrific idea on how to protect women's reproductive freedom, just first rate. So after she dropped out, I called her and said, how would you feel if I folded that into what I'm doing? I'll give you full credit. Kirsten Gillibrand, terrific plan on paid family leave. I said, Kirsten, how would you feel if I bring her? She said, that's great. Julian Castro, who has great stuff on pre-K, 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds, big part of what he focuses on. Julian and I worked together. In fact, Julian and I worked together, and Julian endorsed me as out on the trail for me. But to me, that's the heart of how we need to be expanding our Democratic Party as we go forward. We need to make a place for everybody in the Democratic Party who's fighting from the heart. Let's make this happen. Let's make it happen together. Look, it's the reason I think I've got the best chance to beat Donald Trump, because I speak to all the parts of the party. I run on things we can agree on as Democrats, and frankly, things that Republicans like. Let's make that happen. That's how we're going to bring down Donald Trump.
Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on the button below for more from The Last Word and the rest of MSNBC.